We asked our viewers to send in their stories of demonic possession. This one is from a professional dancer who, along with her dance troupe, found themselves face to face with a demonic presence in a haunted bed and breakfast in Ireland. Now, every night after rigorous performances during the day, they found themselves doing a nightly dance of the possessed. My name is Simone. I am writing to you to tell you of what I experienced while on tour in Ireland. I am a backup dancer for an established pop act, one that I would not say publicly, but that you probably heard of. I've been dancing pretty much since I could walk, and I started dancing professionally as a teenager. By the time I was 22, I had appeared in dozens of music videos, danced in some pretty big stage productions, and was starting to get work as a choreographer. I also danced on my YouTube channel, and one of my videos had gone semi-viral, and I was starting to get a lot more high-profile work. The gigs were paying more, the work was consistent, and the work I did was being seen by bigger and bigger audiences. Life was good. In fact, life was great. I'd always been somewhat religious. I didn't go to church every Sunday, but I was there a few times a year. I still prayed to God sometimes. That's why I always believed I'd be safe from evil forces in the universe. Needless to say, I was quite surprised when I found myself writhing on a bed in a small cottage under siege from a force so terrifying, so demonic, that I still get chills down my spine when I think about it. It started with a gig. We were touring in Ireland, and the backup dancers were staying in a bed and breakfast. There were 5 of us, and when we entered the place, we were immediately told by the owner that they have ghosts here, and she hoped it wouldn't be a problem for us. Some of the girls laughed, some took it seriously, but we all agreed to stay. We were all sharing one room with 5 beds. The strangest thing happened that night. We all had the same terrifying dream. It was after we came home from performing, and we hadn't even changed out of our costumes because we were planning on shooting some Instagram content in the bed and breakfast, but still in our costumes. But we were all tired and laid down, and before you knew it, we all drifted off to sleep. The dream went like this. We were walking across what I could only describe as hell. It was unbearably hot, like as hot as the sun. So hot it burned our feet as we walked. The air was like scorching vapor, burning the inside of our lungs as we breathed. We walked for what seemed like hours, till the skin on our feet burned away and we were walking on bone. I looked at my hands and saw the skin was burned off, and only my skeleton was left. We walked and walked, trying to get out of this hell, but to no avail. Then it started to rain. Not a cool rain, but a hot rain, like acid rain. It burned us as we walked. What little flesh was left washed away from the acid rain. I could also feel hands holding me down, not in the dream, but in real life, as if I was being bound to the bed by supernatural fingers, reaching out into our dimension to keep me trapped in my hellish dream. We kept walking and finally came upon a figure, a black silhouette in the fiery hellscape. We froze in our place as his gaze pierces us like lasers. A scorching energy shot from his eyes into mine and burned my eyes away. I fell to the ground, screaming in pain. The last thing I saw in the dream was my friends, also on the ground, writhing in agony. Then, the silhouetted figure began singing. But it wasn't good. It was evil. The melody, the tone, it was all pure evil. It felt sinister, like it was only a song you would hear in hell. It burned my ears. I felt the hot, searing evil energy enter my ears and burst my eardrums. I stopped hearing anything. I was blind and deaf, but I could feel, and I felt this evil presence burning its way into my body, through my ear canals. It entered my skull. I could feel it boiling my brain. I started thrashing in pain. Then it worked down into my body, my chest, my stomach, up my arms and into my fingers, through my groin, down my legs, and into my feet and my toes. I could feel it go into my heart and infect my blood. My blood felt like acid. I could feel it coursing through my body, sickening and scorching my insides. Then, I felt it enter my soul. This dark, burning, hot force of supernatural energy ripping and tearing my soul apart. I've never been aware of the existence of my soul, but once you feel it being damaged, you know it. It's like something you never noticed before because it was always there. And once it was damaged or missing, suddenly you realize this thing has always been a part of you. It was frying and torching my soul. I could feel it, as if I had entered a portal to hell and was now being feasted upon by a demon or maybe the devil himself. The agony was so intense, and then I heard his voice, the figure. He said, "You are mine," over and over again. Through all of this, I could only lay on the ground, writhing and suffering, screaming in intense pain. Outside the dream, I was strangely aware of a presence in the room, or maybe multiple presences, circling the beds and moving around the room. But I couldn't wake myself up. It was strange. I could occasionally feel the room, feel that I was dreaming, and tried to force my eyes open, but I couldn't and would just get pulled back in deeper into the dream and deeper into that hell. The dream continued. The ground suddenly opened up and swallowed me. I began to fall. It was a tunnel of fire. A long, endless fall seemed like it took years. The fire burst from the walls of the tunnel and burned me on the way down. I screamed in terror and pain until I reached the bottom. At the bottom was nothing but pure pain, suffering, agony. I was truly in hell. It felt as if I had stumbled into a room that had a doorway to hell, and now I was being dragged into hell by this demonic being. I felt like I was there for an eternity. Then I woke up. I didn't say anything about the dream to the girls, and by that afternoon, had kind of forgotten about it. I just went to work, rehearsed for the show that night, and did another stellar show. But later that night, we returned to the bed and breakfast, and sure enough, when I went to sleep, I had the same dream. I would later find out that the other 4 girls, once again, had the identical dream. I didn't realize I was dreaming at first, only that something was wrong. The air felt thick, like I was breathing through ash, and the ground beneath me pulsed as if it were alive. Then I felt the hands. They were small, clawed, and countless. They gripped my ankles, my wrists, sharp little fingers digging into my skin. I tried to scream, but my voice came out dry and brittle, like it had already been burned away. When I looked down, I saw them. Twisted, child-sized creatures with charred skin and glowing eyes. Their mouths stretched into grins too wide to be human. They didn't speak. They only pulled. I was dragged across a cracked, blackened surface that radiated heat so intense it blistered my skin on contact. The ground split open ahead of me, revealing a chasm filled with roaring fire. The sound wasn't just flame, it was screaming. Endless, layered screaming, as if thousands of voices were trapped inside the fire itself. "No," I tried to say, but my lips split as I moved them. Blood didn't come, only smoke. They pulled me over the edge. The descent wasn't a fall. It was deliberate, slow, cruel. The creatures climbed over me, around me, dragging me downward through thick waves of heat. The deeper we went, the more the fire changed. At first, it burned my skin, searing it raw. I could feel every inch of myself blister, peel, and split open. Then it went deeper. It wasn't just my body anymore. Something inside me caught fire. I felt it in my chest. I could feel parts of myself rotting even as they burned, a sickening combination of decay and fire that made me want to tear myself apart just to escape it. Around me, shapes moved within the flames, people, or what had once been people. Their forms stretched and contorted, skin melting and reforming, their mouths open in silent or endless screams. Some reached toward me as I passed, their hands skeletal and burning, as if begging me to pull them free. But there was no free here. I knew that. Somehow, I understood it completely. The creatures dragging me chittered with excitement as we went deeper. The heat became something beyond sensation, so intense it stopped feeling like pain and became something worse, something absolute. My body felt like it was dissolving, yet I remained whole enough to feel every second of it. And still, we kept going. I tried to fight, but my limbs wouldn't respond. It was as if I was already part of this place, already claimed by it. The fire no longer just surrounded me, it moved through me, feeding on something I couldn't protect. My soul. I felt it unraveling, piece by piece, burning and decaying at the same time, as if eternity itself was designed to keep me at the edge of destruction without ever letting me disappear. As the creatures dragged me into a deeper, brighter inferno, I realized with a cold, horrifying certainty, this wasn't a nightmare I would wake up from. This was where I was being taken to stay. But then I did wake up, drenched in sweat. The next afternoon, Myself and the other 4 dancers were hanging out in the bedroom, waxing our legs for the show that night, when I casually brought up the dreams I'd been having, and they all looked like they had seen a ghost. They told me that they all have been having the same dream ever since we got there. One of the girls was convinced we were staying in a portal to hell, and each night we were being given a tour of hell, whether we wanted it or not. We didn't request moving to a new place because we were all new on the tour and didn't want to do anything to ruffle any feathers. Plus, we had only one more night in Ireland before we moved on, so we decided to stick it out. Later that day, after the last tour, we all came back to the room. We didn't change out of our work clothes, probably because none of us wanted to go to sleep. But one by one, we all drifted asleep anyway. I knew I was dreaming, but that didn't lessen the pain. It began with heat thick, suffocating, alive. The air itself burned as I drew breath, scorching my throat, filling my lungs with fire. I stood on a cracked, blackened floor that pulsed like something breathing beneath it. Everywhere I looked, there were flames towering, writhing columns of orange and sickly green, casting shadows that moved when nothing else did. And beneath the roar of the fire, there were screams. Endless, overlapping, desperate. I tried to move, but the ground shifted. Something touched my ankle. I looked down just as a tendril, thin, slick, and glowing with a molten heat slithered out of a crack in the floor. It wrapped around my leg. The moment it tightened, my skin blistered instantly. I screamed, trying to kick free, but more tendrils emerged, dozens of them, wriggling and snapping like hungry serpents. They coiled around my wrists, my other ankle, my waist. "Let me go," I cried, pulling, thrashing. The tendrils tightened. The heat was unbearable. I could feel them searing into me, burning through skin, through muscle. The smell hit me next, my own flesh, charring. I gagged, but the air only fed the fire inside me. They yanked. I slammed onto the ground, the impact driving what little breath I had left from my lungs. The floor itself burned, as if I'd been thrown onto a bed of coals. I twisted, trying to roll away, but the tendrils pinned me, stretching my limbs until I thought they might tear free. The flames drew closer. I could feel them before they touched me, an oppressive wall of heat pressing in from all sides. Then they were on me. Fire consumed everything. It wasn't a single sensation, it was layers of agony. My skin crackled and split, nerves screaming before they burned away, only to return again in some impossible cycle. I could feel my body unraveling, piece by piece, as if the fire were peeling me apart. I tried to scream, but my voice dissolved into the roar. Time stopped meaning anything. There was only pain. Endless, all-consuming pain. And then nothing. The flames receded, and I became aware of myself again. But I wasn't whole. I looked down, or tried to. There was no body, no skin, no bones, just me. Something weightless, exposed, raw, and yet the pain hadn't ended. It had changed. It was deeper now. no longer confined to flesh. It gnawed at something beneath, something that couldn't burn away. My soul. The tendrils were still there, wrapped around what remained of me, holding me in place. And then everything went quiet. The flames parted. A shape stood beyond them, tall, still, watching. I couldn't make out its full form, only the outline against the fire. But as it stepped closer, I saw its face. Or rather, its eyes. They locked onto me, and in them I saw something vast and ancient, something that understood every moment of my suffering and found it insignificant. Worse than that, it was patient, certain. I knew who it was without being told. It smiled. I woke up screaming, my body drenched in sweat, my heart pounding so hard it hurt. The room was dark, silent, safe, but I couldn't shake the feeling. Because even awake, I could still feel the heat. And I could still see those eyes. I never had that dream again. Neither did any of the other dancers. But all of us felt that we didn't just go to Europe that summer. We all truly believed that our summer tour included a layover in hell.